Y'all, why is Mr. Proctor allegedly sending images of children from his personal cellular device? And more importantly, who the hell was on the receiving end? This and more in today's video.
Proctor called a white woman the C word. What do you think he's calling black and brown people? That's what we're worried about.
Hello, 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 and welcome back, roommates, to another titillating edition of Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, and we are not law enforcement. We are just people who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including guy who makes Andrew Tate look like an advocate for fourth wave TikTok feminism, Michael Proctor, who's got some serious splaining to do after the court, in a new filing, had to explicitly tell defense counsel not to share images of children on his cell phone. Defense counsel shall not show nude or partially nude images to third parties. Defendant Johnson shall be permitted access to the materials via a Norfolk Sheriff Department computer not connected to the internet. I mean, even Krupp's orders are coming in with a content warning. So this is a court order that came down yesterday from Judge Krupp, essentially just tweaking some of the ground rules that he had previously set in place for a case involving Bianca Ciancio, Giovanni De Los Santos, and Sean Johnson, who are all involved in a case where two men were shot in the parking lot of Mojitos Country Club on Mateo Drive back in July of 2022, where one of the victims, 29-year-old Ivanildo Cabral, ended up unfortunately dying from those injuries. And I believe Pee Wee Proctor was also the lead customer service representative in this case as well too, or he had some hand in it, just like he had his hand in investigating the Miles King case, as well as Karen Reed and so many others. And so part of that discovery that the defense is arguing they are entitled to are items that hail from Proctor's perv pad. And now Peter Parker is laying out exactly how his digital dirt print should be or can be handled / shared / not shared. And this all stems from back when Krupp initially granted access to go through Proctor's iCloud data dating all the way back from 2013 and contain material potentially relevant to other cases he had previously investigated. Now, we went over this already when this news first dropped, but this disclosure allegedly included images of intimate body parts and the name of an SA victim, among other stuff. And just to be crystal clear, while we don't know who those images are of, nor do we need to know explicitly, especially if they are victims or defendants, right, and children. What we do know is the same man who was investigating Karen Reed and making derogatory comments about her, like, no nudes so far, also had a stash of these other explicit images and victim information that he was just passing along flippantly to his buddies. And we don't know how many people he was sending these types of messages to, what the context of it all is, or even how many of these people, since dating back as far as 2013, I mean, that's over 10 years, he was exploiting. But this order was granted just days after his appeal to get his job back fell through and he lost his attorney and potentially his marriage. Who knows? That's what's circulating on the rumor mill. And so based on this hearing that took place yesterday involving all of the other defendants in these cases that are tied to his mess, it seems like Pee Wee Proctor and potentially other troopers may have been using encrypted apps like WhatsApp to communicate during the investigations. And if that is true, oh, the irony.
When we were provided discovery, there were 2 USB drives in the same envelope with a letter indicating that they were Trooper Proctor's personal phone. We've since learned that one of those USB drives was actually the work phone. Commonwealth has agreed to ask the troopers In this case, if anyone used the encrypted app, what's called WhatsApp, in this investigation, and depending on the result of that, we may file an additional motion, Judge. But we're withdrawing it as it exists on the motions today.
So Broken Baker did a full stream of this hearing yesterday. I will link his video for the stream at the end of my video so you can check it out and listen to it. I think he just hit 20,000 subscribers, so make sure you share some love over there and tell him I sent you. Now, interestingly enough, aside from continuing discuss what's inside Proctor's box, we also learned that the cross-examination of one Adam Lally, yes, that Adam Lally, will continue on April 3rd. So mark it in your calendars, folks. Now, I don't know, and I am certainly going to light my Eddie Vedder Jesus candle, maybe throw some salt in, and beg to Sky Daddy that these weren't those kind of images, at least in relation to children. Like, why the heck are you sending pictures of people's kids to your friends? If I were a parent and I knew the lead investigator of a case that maybe was involving, you know, my daughter, my son, etc., and then you were also sending pictures of my kids to your buddies, I would be absolutely livid, disgusted, and you can bet your bottom dollar I'd be coming for you. I'd already have my lawsuit drafted up in Comic Sans. Because there's absolutely no universe where any lead investigator needs to be sending images of kids or partially nude or naked photos of women, men, who knows, on their personal cell phone to their friends. There's just no world whatsoever, period, end of story. Full stop. Oh, I'm sorry, is it Bianca or is it Biana? I thought it was Bianca, so maybe I misspoke. So the defendant's name is Biana Ciancio, Giovanni De Los Santos, and Sean Johnson. And again, these defendants are not related to the Miles King case. It's a totally different case. But both were investigated by Proctor. And this order, again, was dated yesterday, modifying previous orders regarding information derived from review of extraction of a former Massachusetts State Police trooper's personal phone, Mr. Proctor. So, pursuant to Massar Kim, pursuant to Massar Krim, yada yada, it is hereby ordered as follows. This order modifies orders dated June 17th, 2025, August 13th, 2025, and the subsequent protective order dated October 24th, 2025. So I believe that's when Krupp was like, open the floodgates and let's see what's inside Proctor's box, which relate to the production of the files from Michael Proctor's cell phone determined to be discoverable under Massar Crime yada yada, aka the discoverable materials. Disclosure of the discoverable materials shall be limited to the defendant's counsel of record in the above captioned case, and any direct appeal, if any, of the above captioned case and their associate attorneys, paralegals, administrative assistants, investigators, and experts assisting counsel of record in the above captioned case, meaning nobody can look at this but the people who are working on this case, right? Defense counsel shall not show or provide the discoverable materials to anyone other than those persons described above. So all of these defendants cannot share or post on social medias what they receive in discovery, except that defense counsel may show but not give the materials to the defendant in this case, because they are entitled to obviously be a part of their defense, right? Defense counsel shall be permitted to show but not give those portions of the material that counsel have a good faith basis to believe are necessary to investigate misconduct by law enforcement. Can you smell the lawsuit? I certainly can. And or bias towards persons in and/or bias towards persons in protective classes, including but not limited to, here we go, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, or intellectual ability to necessary third parties. So I don't know if this is just a generalization and it's just covering, hey, if there was any mention of anything that could be potentially racist, homophobic, etc., you can't be sharing that no matter how much juicy goss there is to your friends, to your family. It's exclusive to you, the defendant, and your counsel. Defense counsel shall not show images of children to third parties. So again, I don't know if this is specific to Proctor, or if this is just a general copy and paste thing just to cover all bases, because Krupp's like, I don't know what's in everything. I have no idea what's in his box. But it seems a little revolting. And I don't think it would be included in this order if there weren't some images. Now, of course, if he's sending images of children that's pertinent to the investigation, but he's doing it on his work phone to send to other investigators that are involved in the investigation, that's a different story. But on your personal cell phone, it's freaking weird, dude. Like, it's very weird. And again, I'm not saying that it's necessarily inappropriate images of children, but it's still inappropriate and disgustingly unprofessional to be sharing pictures of other people's kids in the first place. It's the same thing if you're posting people's kids online because you want to dox them. Like, why? I don't get that. I don't get. Anyways, defense counsel shall not show nude or partially nude images to third parties, and I have absolutely no doubt that he's got probably plenty of those. And I hope that that does not include images of Anna Walsh. But defendant Johnson shall be permitted access to the materials via a Norfolk Sheriff Department computer not connected to the internet. So this is the only defendant that it seems like has this specific level of access. It's not just images, guys. It's also messages, audio files, potentially videos. I don't know. It's just, we just don't know. So defendant Johnson shall not show the materials to anyone nor print any of the materials. The defendant will not maintain custody of the materials. They will remain in custody of the Norfolk Sheriff Department. Makes sense, so they'll only get copies of it. The discoverable material shall not be disseminated outside the criminal proceeding absent further order of this court. The Commonwealth shall be permitted to separately redact a SA victim's name because he's the world's biggest human poop stain. So that's Mr. Proctor in a nutshell. If you're a female, do you feel comfortable knowing that Michael Proctor could have been the lead investigator of you or your loved one? Knowing all of this? Because it's not explicit to, I mean, we know he shared an SA victim's name, and I'm assuming it was a female, but it could have been a male victim. But imagine if that was your daughter or your cousin or your aunt or any, I mean, it's a scary world to be in Norfolk County and be a woman. Because it's not only just about Proctor being the one sending it, who the hell was on the receiving end? And why didn't they say anything? Why weren't they like, hey, this dude is texting me images of naked ladies related to cases that he's investigating? He's not sending me to some prawn hub video a la Brian Walsh, right? Scarlett, whatever her name was. That's different. You can send whatever you want on your personal cell phone to your buddies, right? OnlyFans, whatever. But victims, defendants, who in the Dan Schneider Foot Factory is this man sending these images to? And these audio files? And like, there's just so many questions that remain. And for a hot, steamy meatball minute, it looked like Pee Wee Proctor couldn't find himself a single lawyer. No one wanted to touch him with a 10-foot pole and a hazmat suit. But lo and behold, it looks like somebody took the plunge and agreed to represent this former badge-wielding bowel movement. I mean, what's the saying? There's a lid for every dumpster fire. So, no shade to the attorney himself. I mean, somebody's gotta take one for the team, but it was looking bleak out there for a while. And I agree with Microdots here, who's calling for them to release a redacted version of Proctor's messages. No matter how revolting, because we have a right to know exactly how he abused his position. And apparently he has a new job, so it's a great graphic. But that's exactly right. Especially if you're a taxpayer in that county, in that state. Because it isn't just about Proctor and the messages he was sending, it was who was also receiving those messages. Were they other investigators? Were they buddies in other departments? Were they members of the MSP? You know, who were these other people? I feel like this is the MSP's version of the Epstein files or the Diddy tape. Like, release the receipts. Release them. And again, we don't need to know all the nitty-gritty details. Obviously, first and foremost, we want to protect the victims, the defendants, the children. We don't need to know the names. But just like in the Sandra Birchmore death investigation, as difficult of a read it was, that was shared with the public. And it's important, which opens up a totally different conversation that I think does need to be had about how sometimes people need to see it to believe it, especially those who were so naive and so trusting of our government, of law enforcement. And speaking of Microdots, he's going to be dropping a deep dive about Proctor. His entire day on January 29th, 2022, and the decisions that ultimately destroyed his life. So I'm very excited for that. When it drops, I will make sure to share it on my community tab so you guys can check it out and go support. This is important work that he's doing. And thankfully, it seems like there's a really strong candidate for Norfolk County DA. Elections are going to be coming up in 2026. So if you are a resident there, make sure and go out and vote. Use your voice, right? Get these monsters out of office. And that's not going to fix everything, of course. But it's a starting point. Slowly weeding out the bad. And hopefully some of the good guys can start emerging and really start to make some positive change in the community, your community that you live in, that you may have grown up in. So with that said, if you enjoyed today's content, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video from me. Make sure you hit that like button because that tells the YouTube algorithm that this is newsworthy news. And I mean, it is every day. It's just there's another piece of the puzzle that just keeps getting added, and we get one step closer to exposing these people for, in my opinion, the monsters that they are. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.